Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of The Working Ant with me, your host and coach, Rami Balut. I hope you're doing well. Hope you are healthy, and I hope you are in good spirits. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing at this precise moment, know that I value very much the investment of your time. Having me as part of your journey in your personal and professional life. Today, I wanted to talk about a topic of conversation that continues to sort of like come up and bubble up, typically when there's chaos. And these days, there certainly is a lot of chaos, a lot of reprioritization, a lot of essentialism, a lot of cutting the fat in different organizations, and unfortunately, cutting a lot of people. There's a mass migration, I would say, internally in different companies and different organizations where people are going, what people are going to be doing, what they're going to be working on, what they're going to be evaluated on in the future. And this is just all a product of really just the times that we are living in. And so I know many of you may not be surprised by this. Many of you are in the midst of going through this, and some of you are sort of like in fear of what may happen in the future. Either which way, I know it causes a certain amount of stress and anxiety at times, but know this, when things are going to happen, they're going to happen. And if you've been doing your utmost best to stay relevant, to stay effective, to see value and impact when it is there, to look at outcomes, looking at benefits versus process, looking at yourself as someone as wonderful and as effective as you may be, even if, despite, and especially in circumstances like these. So I just want to recognize and acknowledge you and appreciate everything you may be going through. I know it's not easy to get a lot of acknowledgement and recognition these days, especially when people are running around trying to figure things out for themselves, especially when it comes down to leadership. And our topic of conversation today very much revolves around leadership in general, specifically a topic, leadership in general, but specifically a topic of conversation that continues to come up, which is like, hey, Rami, I'm a peacetime manager now in a wartime sort of like environment or battleground sort of environment where a lot of resources are being taken away, our portfolios sort of like are being rearranged and reprioritized, budgets are being cut, and so we're being evaluated on a whole different level. And so how do I sort of come across as someone that is a wartime, battle-ready manager, leader, going to bat for the team, looking at things with optics of opportunities as there's chaos, opportunity bubbles up, and we can seize this opportunity with one another. How do I rally my team around it? How do I build morale? How do I keep people motivated? And in fact, how do I even keep myself motivated in times like these when there's constant and continuous change? The only thing certain is uncertainty. And so how do I sort of navigate around that with the people that I need to influence, the people that I need to take care of, the people that I need to direct and manage, the people that I need to make sure that are steering in the right direction so that they're doing right by themselves, we're doing right by the team, the organization, and then of course the company. So how do you go around doing that? I get a lot of questions like that. Lately it's actually happened quite often where it's almost like, people want to know the mechanics, the how-to, the tactics of going about appearing like this with their people and showing that, hey, you know what? In the midst of all this, there is opportunity for us and we will make the most out of this. And that's all sort of music to my ears here. But, through some of my experience, teaching, coaching, mentoring, and acting as a confidant to so many people over the last, almost decade or so, I've sort of like learned myself as a coach where, it's so easy to jump into the how-to versus, like the who-to. And what I mean by that is, asking the overall question of like, who are you as it relates to your team? And what sort of a messenger do you come across as when you're trying to deliver something in such challenging times? It's almost like, hey, are you one with the people? Or are you sort of coming in, parachuting in, saying a few things, and then, sort of retracting to where you once were before? I can't help myself but to be reminded of the old fable of, the king and the two wells, the king with the kingdom and two wells. And it sort of went something like this, where there was a king who ruled over a harmonious kingdom. People loved him. And, there were two wells in this kingdom. One was well used by the people, and there was one used by the palace and the kingdom and the king himself. And one day, the well of the people was poisoned. And, the king, being a very compassionate, empathetic, loving king, sent the best doctors, sent the best researchers, scientists, and analysts and whatnot to go check out, what was wrong with this well. And for those of you that know this story, I'm probably adding a little bit of sugar and spice to it, forgive me, but I'm recalling it in the way I know best. And so, anyways, they find out that this well is indeed poisoned in some way, and it's actually making the people go mad. And the king tries to reason with his people and sort of share, that, hey, look, this well has been poisoned. People are going mad. There's something wrong with the water. Steer clear of it, etc., etc. And the people seem to look at the king very differently in a moment like this, and they say, you know what? Something's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with us. It looks like you're the one who's been poisoned. You're the one who's had something tainted in the water, not us. And going back and forth here, the king ended up deciding that the only way he was going to win back the hearts and mind of his people was not retract and drink from the well of his kingdom, but drink from the well of the people. And so he drank from this well. He became mad, just like the people, and they lived harmoniously and forever after. Then again, something of the sorts here. And so, this actually resonates a lot with me because, when we look at leadership today, and look at leaders in specific today, you'll find leaders that have been drinking from the well for far too long and may not even know that another well exists out there with the people, with their people. And they may actually know this well exists. They may not even want to touch it or come near it or know anything about it, so long as their people are producing the output and the outcomes that they have been asked and tasked to actually do. And my, oh my, does that actually not work in days like today, where, compassion, empathy, connectedness, relationships, relatability, personability, all that is being tested like never before, at least here in the Bay Area, where the macroeconomic climate, especially in tech, is very, very real. There are layoffs that continue, redundancies that continue, this sort of era of importance and essentialism sort of continue to carry through, where people are looking at the opportunity cost of doing one thing in the place of another and weighing whether or not that is an actual best investment of someone's time. And so as a leader here, when I'm going and being approached on how to be an effective leader in times like these, I ask, the question like, are you one with the people? And I'll be asking you, whether or not you are in an official position of leadership or you're in a position where you can influence without authority. And that is like, are you one with the people? Do you truly feel that you are actually one with the people? Because if you want to get a message across, if you want to sway opinion, change behavior these days, you've got to make sure that you are at minimum a messenger that the people will find credible. And so a lot of leaders today that have actually been so disengaged, so disassociated with, so sort of like retracted from their people and their organization, really, really find themselves in such difficult circumstances because they actually truly want to do well by their people. They want to do right by their people. They want to do right by themselves and the company and the organization, but they find themselves so disconnected with the people that they find it so challenging to actually have any level of real conversation with them, let alone try to get them to look at things differently or even seek out opportunity in the midst of such challenging circumstances. And so, I really, really do believe that asking yourself a question like this, like, are you one with the people? Do you truly understand your people? Oftentimes I'll ask my clients and I'll just say like, look, do you know what your team's favorite colors are? Do you know what their favorite food is? Do you know what really drives them, what provides them meaning and significance in the workplace? How close are you with your people and how do you act accordingly? Have you done an audit of yourself and what you're supplying and receiving every single day? Do you typically associate yourself with a level of perception that is very much aligned with the level of perception your team thinks of you. And how often have you actually done a 360? How often have you asked for feedback? How often has it taken you to truly get yourselves in the weeds, roll your sleeves up, and understand the true nature of people's work? Oftentimes what people truly need, outside of just clarity of a strategy moving forward, is clarity that their manager, their leader, actually cares for them, that they can recognize them, that they can appreciate them, that they go out of their way to promote them, to understand sort of their aspirations and their career objectives, even if they are unattainable and actually completely unrealistic at this time. Going far and beyond to do just that. Again here, whether you're a leader or a strong influencer without authority in the organization, how well do you know your people? Are you truly one of the people, or is it just by name and by title? And for those of you that have found yourself in a position like this, are probably under a lot of hot water right now, really trying to do the most you can in a situation where, had you just focused on the interpersonal instead of the transactional over the course of time, you would have been much better off. Had you focused on being relatable to your people, to truly try to understand where they're coming from, understanding how you could have worked to or solved some of their obstacles and challenges along the way, instead of focus on priorities elsewhere. Well, you know what? I do believe that there's always, chances to go back and make things right here, but the only way you're going to truly do so is to not focus so much on, what you actually need to do as far as execution goes, prior to you focusing on your level of personability and relatability within the team. So I sort of want you to flip this and reverse it on what it is you're looking to achieve. So if you're looking to achieve, team morale in a time like this, in a crisis time like this, if you're looking to achieve the reduction of, specific projects and programs, or the realignment and repositioning of resources that are very limited, I can only imagine right now, then, prior to going and doing just that, ask yourself if you've been truly listening to your team and how you've actually done so over the course of time. And can you actually do so today? Ensuring that you truly understand where this team is coming from. You understand their stresses, their anxieties, their feelings and emotions on how they are working today and where they want to be going in the near future. Are you addressing those concerns head on? Are you facing them? Are you trying to zigzag your way around them? Are you trying to confuse because you can't convince? Whatever it is you're doing, and if you think it's working, hey, great. But if you feel like, there's an opportunity for you to improve, make sure you're truly asking yourself whether you are one with the people. And I feel like if you can actually get there, like really make other people feel that, hey, you are just like them. You are one of them. You come from them. You are cut from the same cloth, and you exist because of them, to help them, to serve them, to support them, to champion them, to cheerlead them, to connect them, etc., etc. If you get to this level, my gosh, are there opportunities for you? And if you are working under a leader that is very much in desperate need of, topics and conversation just like this, be that person to actually tell that leader that, this is a time where connectedness and relationships come into play. This is the time where they get tested the most. And in order to be most effective with a team that is going through an enormous amount of questioning of morale, an enormous amount of stress, an enormous amount of reprioritization and uncertainty, the utmost minimum one can do is feel a sense of pride and the relatability with their team, that they know their team, they understand their relationships, and they value them more than they ever could, despite and even if, but especially in circumstances like these. So again, are you one with the people? Are you just one with yourself? Are you one with those that have supported you and championed you to get to a place where you are today? Or do you need to do a lot more to nourish those relationships now before needing them in the future? Things to think about here. And I think here, we don't have to aim for perfection, as we've said before. We just have to aim for perception. The perception of you going into your role needs to be aligned with the person that you believe qualifies that character you're seeking to achieve for yourself. So again here, if you really, really want to make a difference in a time like this, make sure you double down on the perception that you are promoting within your team, because when all this is going to pass, which it will, people are going to go back and think through how you supported them through all this. Did we just support for the sake of support? Did we just relay information that we got from executive leadership, but from the very, very top? Or are we truly, truly taking the time to immerse ourselves in the interests and needs of our people when they need it now more than ever? It may not appear like that, but I can promise you, the implicit to so much of this, counts just as much as, and if not more than, someone telling you directly that they need help. Don't wait for that moment. Act now, and I would say forever hold your peace in the process. And if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? Are you one with the people? I sure hope you are. That's it for this week's episode of The Working Ant. Thank you so much for investing your time with me. Thanks for the messages. Thanks for the emails. Thanks for the pings, etc., etc. I just love sharing some thoughts with you, and I hope in turn you can share some back. Love to hear from you. Take care, and I will see you next week here on The Working Ant. Bye for now.